Welcome to Beyond the Legal Pad with attorney Laura Cowan.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Legal Pad with attorney Laura Cowan. Laura helps individuals and families navigate estate planning with care, ensuring their wishes are honored and their loved ones are protected. She simplifies the process, helping clients make key decisions today to avoid pain and conflict in the future. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Estate Planning 101, Changing the Way You Practice Law. Laura, thanks for being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So your career as a successful New York City estate planning attorney it's inspiring. Can you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to create 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer?
Yeah, so, my journey started about 8 years ago, I would say, when I launched my estate planning practice here in New York in late 2016. And I started from complete scratch. I did not have any experience in estate planning. I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any financial resources, no kind of a safety net or anything like that.
You said you started your own practice at that time?
Yes, late
2016. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So it's about 8 years old now. And, when I started from the ground up, only doing estate planning, and pretty quickly built it into a 7-figure practice. It took me about 3 years. To get there. And then in 2020, I was forced to turn the whole thing virtual when COVID hit, and I had to, I'm in New York City and everything shut down. So I turned the whole thing virtual in 2020. And then I launched this program, 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, in 2022.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. I'm still impressed that you went down that road without any clients or money or anything. You just sort of went for it.
In retrospect, it's one of those things that I can't believe I did. If I had known how hard it was going to be, I don't know that I would have done it. People say that about having kids as well. I don't actually have kids, but I'm guessing it's similar, where if I had known how hard it was going to be, I don't know if I would have done it, but I did do it, and I made a big success out of it, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, I'll say this. I do have a kid, and I'm glad I stopped at 1. That much I'll say. It is hard, it's fulfilling, but I'm glad I stopped at 1. What was the turning point for you when you realized that a traditional 80-hour work week was not the best path towards a fulfilling career?
Yeah, I figured that out pretty early on. Things were different in 2016. There's this big sort of split in my mind between estate planning pre-COVID and estate planning post-COVID. And when I launched in 2016, really what I was taught was you've got to have the biggest firm possible, and you've got to have your $1 million law firm. And it was all about building this big, huge firm that comes with a lot of stress and overwhelm and just a bigger project than I really wanted. So I figured out pretty early on, I want to do this. I want to do it well, but this is not the lifestyle for me. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and we all started being okay with having a different lifestyle as a lawyer. And that changed the way I thought about it.
Yeah, that was sort of an unintended positive byproduct of COVID, was everybody kind of taking work-life balance and with a little more seriousness.
Yeah. And it just sped everything up overnight. I mean, here in New York City, March 13th, approximately, my dad was asking, maybe you should come out and stay with me in Rhode Island. And I thought, no, there's no way I'm leaving the city. And literally the next day I was like, can you come pick me up? I had no choice but to turn it virtual overnight from my dad's kitchen table. So virtual quality of life, all of that is just a little bit different post-COVID.
Agreed. So how do you help attorneys create a sustainable, profitable estate planning practice with more free time?
Yeah, so what we teach in the course and the program, there's 3 big buckets that I think that you have to be good at to be successful as an estate planning attorney. Three pillars. And, these are nothing mind blowing, but, it's pretty basic. You've got to be able to attract clients. We call this ACE, by the way. We call this ACE for attracting, closing, and executing. So you've got to be able to attract a constant flow of leads. And so you focus on that, you network, you host workshops, you get out in your community. But then you've got to have a way to close those leads. And as an estate planning attorney, you've got a bit of a hurdle to get over in terms of getting people to say yes, right? People aren't that excited to spend money on estate planning. So being able to close at a fee that you deserve is another challenge. And then you've got the third challenge, executing. Who's going to do the work? Who's going to implement? We call it ACE. And you as the attorney should be focusing on the attracting and the closing, because that generates revenue. And the executing can and should be done by someone else, systems automation. So I think that the key is really focusing your attention as the attorney on generating business, building relationships. And then once the work comes through the door, a lot of it can be automated, streamlined, sent down to a paralegal.
Right. And you emphasize the importance of having a balance between work, family, and personal time. How did you manage to make this shift while building your practice?
Well, I didn't have much of a work-life balance when I first started. It's really, really hard starting a business. And this is one of the reasons that I think I wanted to start this podcast was, sort of to give a path for starting a business that's or a law practice rather, that's attainable and reasonable. It's not reasonable to think that you're going to have a big $1 million law firm or a big $5 million law firm without a lot of work and a lot of feeling uncomfortable. So, I figured out pretty early on that wasn't for me, and I was going to try to streamline this as much as possible.
Yeah, do your work on the front end, hopefully not for too long, where you can enjoy life a little more.
Yeah. And what I found is a big part of it is having a team, is having a good team. And if you think that you're not big enough for a team yet, you need to at least have one assistant. That's one nugget that I would give right away. You've got to have at least one person to delegate things down to. Getting past that hurdle of thinking I've got to do everything myself is, that's just a hamster wheel that you're never going to get off of. So starting to delegate is a big part of having work-life balance.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think everyone thinks right off the bat, oh, I can't afford it. I'm still growing. I don't want to spend the money on somebody, but you don't realize what you're doing to yourself and to your practice by trying to do everything on your own.
Yeah. And one thing that I learned before law school, I went to a CPA for many years. I worked at, Ernst & Young, Goldman Sachs. I was also an assistant for some really high net worth hedge fund guys. And the reason I mention this is because the model that I saw all of them have, these really wealthy billionaires, literally, their model for their business it was them. And then they always had, even when they first started, they always had at least one assistant, right? Because you need to have one person who's the visionary, who's sort of the attractive character, and that's you, the lawyer. But then you need to have someone to pass things off to. Mm-hmm. So even the rich hedge fund guys, when they're getting started, they start off with at least one assistant because you can't do everything yourself.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right. So walk us through the 6-hour Estate Planning 101 course. What makes estate planning such a unique and ideal practice area for lawyers who want to work less but earn more?
It's such a great practice area post-COVID. A big part of that because we can do it virtually. This was my point earlier. So we used to really be tethered to our office. So if you wanted to do estate planning, it meant having an office, going into the office 9 to 5, et cetera, meeting people in person. Well, that all changed overnight in 2020. So now it's socially acceptable to hire an attorney via Zoom, even for something like a $3,000 or $4,000 estate plan. So I think a lot of lawyers were really interested in adding this in as a practice area post-COVID because we can now do it virtually. So that's just one of the many benefits. And our Estate Planning 101 course is actually part of our 2-hour Lifestyle Lawyer Signature course, which is, I think it's a 6-hour course that teaches the fundamentals of estate planning, basic wills, basic living trusts, etc. So when you take the rest of the course, you're familiar with what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. I'll have to take the course. Wait, do you have to be a lawyer?
You have to be a lawyer, and Estate Planning 101 is part of our signature course. So it's just one of the modules.
All right. Well, I'll have to go get my law degree real quick before I do that. When it comes to marketing for estate planning, it's different from other practice areas, I would imagine. Can you share some strategies lawyers can use to attract their ideal clients without spending a fortune?
Yeah, so I think estate planning is really is unique because it's different from other practice areas in the sense that, a personal injury attorney or DUI attorney, their clients come to them in pain, right? So they're excited, not excited, I would say, but they're okay with writing the check. It's a lot harder with estate planning. There's some hurdles that you've got to get over in terms of getting people to be okay hiring you. And one of the best ways to get over that hurdle is by hosting workshops, is by hosting educational workshops in your community, because your leads need to be educated.
Right.
Most people don't know why they're buying an estate plan. They don't really understand what problems it solves. They're not going to be happy about writing a check. So education is a very big part of estate planning. And I think one of the best parts of our course is that we talk about how to educate your community, how to get out there and host workshops and seminars and just educate people on why they need it so they understand the problems estate planning is solving. And that makes them more eager to pay you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I've been in marketing for many years, or I was in marketing for many years. And another one was financial advisors, as far as the workshops go. Like workshops were a really good way because you want to educate people and you want people to realize that they need something and that you're really good at providing it for them.
Yeah, they don't know what the problem is. They don't realize they have a problem. I think that, we all have an estate plan, right? We all have a will. It's just that the state that you live in has written it for you.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This is the way that
I was
it
going to
works.
say, I don't, and I should, I know, but.
And that's the funny thing is that you do. Whatever state you live in has written it for you, and it may not be what you would want, right? Those are the default rules. If you don't have a will, your state is going to write one for you. So yeah, so we all have an estate plan. It's just been written by the state, and it's probably not what we want. So to the extent that you can educate your community on, actually, this is where you are right now, and it's probably not where you want to be, I can help you get to where you want to be. Point A to point B.
Right. That's a really good way to put it too. You do have an estate plan. It just might not be the one you want because you haven't done anything about it and it's just state sponsored, sort of.
It's state sponsored. Yeah. And then, people are like, well, how bad could the current plan be? Well, let me show you, and it may be just fine, but it's also possible that the state issued plan is not what you want. So working with us, you can override the default.
Right. Yeah. How important is client consultation in the estate planning business? And what are some tips you offer lawyers to convert leads into paying clients more effectively?
The client consultation is really important with estate planning because, again, people don't know why they're hiring you and they don't know why they're spending the money. So to the extent you can do what we teach in the course, which is spend some time with people in a really structured consult. So when I say spend time with people, that doesn't mean just sit down and let them talk for an hour, right? That's not what we mean, but you're going to spend an hour listening to their concerns so they feel heard, and then doing a really effective demonstration of just what I mentioned earlier. This is where you are now. You don't have any documents based on your family and your assets. This is how things would play out if you passed away without an estate plan. What about that don't you like?
Yeah.
And you're going to go through each of the downsides and then ask, what about this don't you like? Because this is what you have now, which they probably don't realize. And then you can say, all right, well, we can fix this and we can fix that. And this is my fee for doing that. And your fee is always going to be less than it costs. It's going to be less than if they don't hire you, right? So I think to the extent that you can make it clear, it's actually going to cost you more if you don't hire me than if you do. You're going to see a lot more yeses at the consult.
That makes sense. So for anyone listening and considering specializing in estate planning, but without prior experience, how can your 6-hour estate planning 101 course help them get started with it?
Yeah, so the Estate Planning 101 is part of our overarching program, the 2-hour Lifestyle Lawyer program. And it's that first module that teaches the basics of estate planning. Now, the rest of the course is really where the meat and potatoes are. So the rest of our signature 2-hour Lifestyle Lawyer course is the A to Z roadmap for how to establish, grow, scale your own estate planning practice, whether you want that to be an in-person practice, virtual practice, or some kind of hybrid. So it takes you through the process from marketing to hosting the consult to designing and drafting the documents to getting everything signed, and then rinse and repeat. So the Estate Planning 101 is the first module of that course, and then the rest of the course takes you through an entire estate plan.
Okay, cool. That's very cool. You've built a successful business and you seem like you maintain a balanced lifestyle. What personal habits or routines do you swear by to keep your life and your practice running smoothly or as smoothly as they can?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in having a team to support you and knowing how to delegate. And this is a challenge for the people who take my course because they're brand new to estate planning and they're oftentimes brand new to even owning a law firm. So they've never had a team or a staff. They've never had to hire anyone. But what I've learned and what I've seen is that I can't do what I do without my team. Right. So knowing who to hire, knowing how to train them so that you are free to do the things that you really have to do, which is generate revenue and build relationships. So that's the business side of it. On the flip side, I love running in Central Park. I live right next to Central Park. I'm here in the city, and that's something that I try to get in really, really frequently. It's very good to just step away from the office every now and then.
100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Too many of us don't get away from our desks enough. No doubt. No
Yeah,
doubt.
and it just clears your mind.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to live in Colorado. So when I get up into the mountains at all, it's like, it's so cathartic. It really does help. Yeah, just taking a hike and getting some energy out. You are an author now too. You do a lot. I don't know how you have a work-life balance, but you have a book coming out in February called Lifestyle Lawyer Revolution: How to Live a Life You Love Without Leaving the Law. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I am so excited about this. This is my first book.
Congrats.
And yeah, I know, it's very exciting. It's super, super exciting. And I wanted to write something that was different from what I was seeing out there. I mean, there's a lot of self-help books, and there's a lot of books on how to be a work-life balance lawyer. And I just felt like we needed something a little bit more than, the fluff, the do what you love and the money will follow.
Yeah.
Like none of this is really helpful.
No.
And often not true.
Yeah.
And so, yes. And so just kind of peeling back the layers on that and just looking at this a slightly different way. You'll all see when the book launches, we talk about, it just accepting the law as this is a challenging profession.
Right.
Many of us went to law school for different reasons, and the reasons that are important now are no longer the reasons that we went. Maybe you've got a family now, maybe you've got all of these obligations. How can you make this work? Because so many attorneys, they have their law degree, they're licensed to practice law, but what they're finding is they're having a hard time kind of connecting all the dots, finding work that they find enjoyable, that they're good at, that they can do on their own time. It's hard putting those puzzle pieces together. And I think that a lot of that requires just thinking about it in a different way. And that's what the book is about.
Oh, that's so cool. When does it come out? Do you know?
It comes out in February. Yeah, it comes out in February. I'm really, really excited. I hope it's going to change some lives. I hope that even if one or two people read it and think, this is going to be helpful, this is going to be a different way of thinking about things for me, then that'll make me so happy.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on that. That's super exciting. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Legal Pad with attorney Laura Cowan. To connect with Laura, head to 2hourlifestylelawyer.com, or you can also email her at laura@2hourlifestylelawyer.com. That 2 is the digit 2 also. And please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review in the comments. Laura, so great to have you here. Can't wait for the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.